All right, everybody, welcome back to Full Circle with Joyce. And we carry on with our show this morning, now switching gears to talk about relationships. A lot of people obviously would want to jump into a relationship, have someone special in their lives. And there's this question of how do you get a good man, right? And how do you then keep a good man? Because hopefully you're not just going for anybody, right? At least make it a good man. Give yourself a threshold. And so my guests are here in studio to discuss this with me. Here is Joanne Kirera, who's a family and marriage therapist. Karibu sana to the show.
Okay.
And also Gregory Mwaura-Ngugi, who's a counseling psychologist. Karibu sana to the show as well. And Happy New Year to the both of you.
Happy New Year.
All right. So, Joanne, I don't know how often you hear this as a family marriage therapist. I'm sure you've talked to a lot of single people as well. People, saying, all these women saying that they're really looking for a good man. Like, how do you find a good man, right? As a lady yourself, maybe having interacted with a lot of other women, is there a science to this thing? Is there a formula that we should be sharing with our younger sisters?
First of all, I do not know what a good man is, because that is very relative.
Yeah.
And it is true that we attract what we are, not what we want. And based on that...
That's a very powerful statement.
Yes.
And by that alone, a lot of people then should, pause and take a moment and think, wow, am I really a good person?
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, the question is, who am I? How good am I? Or what do I have that I want to attract a person of similar qualities? If I have to quote Jim Rohn, where he says you're an average of the 5 people who you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
If you want to know who you are, then you need to focus on who are the men that you've attracted, at least the last 5.
Right.
Or who are the 5 men that you surround yourself with. Then that is going to give you an idea of the kind of person you are. And therefore, what then you need to be looking out to attract. If you're not that, if you're looking out for someone that is very different from that kind of person that you are, then you need to grow to that person that you need to attract. Yes.
Gregory, do you agree with this?
Yes. In addition, I think for me it's a process. It's a process because where I am coming to start forming relationships, I must have achieved some competencies. E.g. one, for me to keep this particular person, as Joanne has said, I have first of all to be mature enough. Mature enough in several dimensions. One, I must be very, very safe emotionally. That I'm not waiting for this particular person to come and tell me I'm beautiful, I am all that. I am stable, I am okay, I have accepted myself for who I am. I have to be also not waiting for this particular person to come and pay my bills. That possibly I am independent. That possibly I am what I have, I can live within my means. Another very important thing is that I have my own thoughts about my life. It's already figured it out. Because if you're waiting for me to come and really give you a sense of direction that possibly validate your thoughts, as in you're thinking very well, you're sharp and what have you, think it's high time you start believing in who you are, your own way of thinking, your own ideas. Another very important thing is spirituality. For me, it's a very important aspect that possibly as a woman, I need to be fully formed spiritually. And I'm not saying religion, I'm saying spiritually. That I'm able to connect with the Supreme Being in my own way, so that possibly I may have something substantive to attract the other person who Joanne is saying that possibly I will attract who I am. So all these dimensions, socially, emotionally, economically, physically, I need to have accepted myself, which is a journey that possibly ladies possibly take, because it is not easy in this era of we are told what is beautiful and what is not. So the question is, have you accepted yourself to be the benchmark of what you know as a person, that possibly this is the best that I have.
And actually that's a good point there, because if we're to accept ourselves as a benchmark, and as you're saying, the beauty discussion is very significant in this day and age. And a lot of women, we're often told about how men are very visual beings, right? And so a lot of women are trying to keep their men or attract their men by their physicality, by how they dress, how they carry themselves, you know. Is that really what it takes to attract and keep a man then? Like, how visual are these men? Is that a very important factor?
A very, very important factor. For any functional relationship to be there, there are certain levels of intimacies. For a man, the physical intimacy is very, very important. This body of a woman that can really satisfy me, or this body of a man that can satisfy me, there must be a meeting point. There must be an intimacy of the physical. That whatever you have physically and whatever I have physically is married. I would go into my life, the ladies that I dated were all had the same body shape, because exactly that is what I believed would actually
That was attractive to you.
was attractive to me. And if I didn't adhere to that, I would have compromised. And if I had compromised on that, believe you me, the rest would follow. That's the first thing. The second thing is I believe we should meet at the humane level. At the humane level, that I meet you as a human being first.
What does that mean?
Before I meet you as a woman. This is what I mean. At the humane level, we'll always have a point of meeting. Because you're human, I'm human. And if we meet as a man and a woman, believe you me, we will struggle. Because I'm coming with all my prejudices from my own culture, from my own socialization, from my own must and shoulds that a woman should do in my life. And John has said, what is this good man that we are talking about? It is very, very relative. So I think for me, the first meeting point is meet as human beings.
Okay.
Then possibly, as human beings, you'll possibly learn how to take care of each other's gender.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joanne, so in your experience counseling lots of different families and married couples, what would you say women are really looking for in a man? What are some of the common issues that arise in the, because I'm sure at some point you get into you don't do this and I wish you would, blah blah blah. What are some of the key pointers that I guess come out of these discussions that you would have, these sessions that you'd have with your clients, that maybe can inform us a little bit about what exactly is it that both men and women are looking for in each other?
Before I speak about the general, I would want to say that every woman is looking for particular things because they are unique individuals. So if I say this is what women are looking out for, I'd be lying. That would be not accurate because just as they are, there are levels of growth, there are levels of maturity, there are levels of understanding, there are levels of spirituality. They are looking out for certain people who will match that. But then there's also the general. And let me break them into three. And the first one, I'll call it affection. That women look out for affection. This person is going to love you. And I know I have heard a lot of these that love you as you are. That is again very debatable. But then again, every woman is looking out to be loved in a certain way that she feels comfortable. So the work of the man in this woman's life is to understand how does she like being loved, and that is where the love languages come in, and that is where also the woman really explains her way of being loved, because one person will be loved through gifts, the other one is quality time, the other person will be loved very, very differently. The other one is just being listened to. So find out from your woman how they like to be loved and love them their way and not your way as a man.
Okay. Or like your ex-girlfriend preferred it.
Or like what any other person says out there.
Yeah.
Yours is unique, so love them their way.
Okay.
The second part is assurance. Every woman wants to know that they are the only ones in a man's life. They are the only ones that matter.
What about these women who say all men cheat? Do they count in this, in what you're saying? Because there are some women who walk around saying that.
Yes. That is a woman who is speaking out of their own woundedness. There is no healthy human being who is going to look at the other gender as people who are necessarily negative. If you see yourself looking at men as you know, cheats or dogs or whatever they are called. And also the men who look at women in certain ways, then they should understand that they are doing it from their own levels of woundedness. Then they need to heal so that they can look at men as who they are. So assurance, yes, every woman needs to be assured that they will be safe, that 10 years from now they will matter. Not necessarily in words. It can be, if it has to be in words, then it has to be accompanied by actions. Then the third thing that women are looking out for is security. And in security, I'm not talking about money, I'm talking about that you are safe, that you're not going to be misplaced in a few years' time,
Yeah.
that you will not wake up and find yourself in the middle of nowhere. There's consistency in all these things we are talking about, whether it's love, whether it's protection, whether it's security, I mean, whether it's in terms of provision, there's some consistency in all this. That's what I'm calling security.
Yeah. I want you to touch on this question of security, because she's right. Immediately we talk about security as far as relationships, everybody just points to money. And young men especially today really complain about this thing because they're just like, oh, that's crazy. All they want is money. They just want to know I have a big car, big house. And so a lot of men are struggling with commitment because they feel, you know what, we're never going to have that anyways. And so they're just living their lives as it goes by. And then the women get even more frustrated because now they're not seeing commitment. From a man's perspective, you know, is there pressure even among guys, among dudes, to provide that security, however you would define security?
I would look at that from different dimensions and possibly marry them. The first one is from the environment. The environment we are here and now living is consumerism, that possibly if I have much, then possibly I'll attract in terms of resources. Another very important thing is from myself. In terms of security, I'm looking at security from as a very fluid thing. From the woman's perspective, because basically making a home and even the question of giving birth and taking care of the young ones, a lot is wanted from the woman. So when we are talking about in terms of security, this particular lady wants to understand and to know, and possibly to analyze and know that possibly in case the way we progress as a family, there will be some stability. And this stability is coming from different dimensions. One, does this particular man has some routine, some schedules that possibly you're actually predictable. That when you wake up in the morning, I can predict that possibly you will come back home. I can predict where you are at the course of the day. I can predict who are your friends. Basically, there is some form of understanding of who you are as an individual and to what extent that possibly you can go. So for me, the person themselves and possibly the environment. There is some form of pressure from the society to the man, because yes, things have changed. The empowerment of the girl child and the boy child, I believe in the empowerment of the both genders, but possibly roles are not changing, and if they are changing, they are very silent. And I totally agree that there is a lot of pressure for the men to actually deliver in relationships.
That's a really great point, actually, that we've evolved as far as people,
Yes,
right? Like
yes.
women being much more empowered, even just to go out and get your own job or find your own income. But the roles, or maybe I should say the expectations of those roles, haven't changed with the times.
Yes, yes.
Do you find that causes a lot of conflict too?
Yes, especially for the woman. Let me be the woman speaking for the woman in this one. Yes, things have changed. The woman, even from, let me move from the traditional point of view, where the woman was a stay-at-home person, taking care of kids and managing the home. And the man was the one who would go out and bring something or bring meat home. And this changed, moving with time. And the woman now goes out and works as much as the man does. And therefore, coming back home, they are still expected to be the homemakers, the ones who are in charge of the house, looking after the children, understanding what is happening at home. And I know this is not true for all, but there are still those certain men who get home and they're back. They are tired from work and they expect to be served. So the foundation of a marriage in this case, in today's times, needs to be in a way that a woman and a man sits and sets those roles prior, before
Yeah.
marriage.
So don't do it based on how your mother did it. Do it based on your own relationship.
It definitely won't work,
and
Joyce.
your
It will
your
not work.
situation. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
will not work at all. So
All right.
you agree to work on the new dynamics. And when a couple cannot sit and agree on that one, that is the purpose of counseling that comes before marriage,
All
the
right.
premarital counseling.
Well, we're going to need to take a break right now, but I'll be back at the top of the hour with Joanne and Gregory as we continue this discussion on how to, I don't like calling it get and keep your man just because it sounds very, but basically how to attract the sort of people that you want to attract, because I like your statement earlier that really who you end up dating is a reflection of the sort of person that you are. So how do you attract the right people, and how do you ensure that they are willing to stay in your life is the big question that we're going to be asking. And certainly we're going to be looking at some of the common mistakes that we do on both sides within relationships, things that we'd say are turn-offs for the person that you're seeing. Hopefully we can draw on these two's professional experience as we tackle that topic. So stay tuned. This is Full Circle with Joyce. I'll see you at 9 a.m.